to just address two issues that you brought up in your reporting. One are sex crimes against children. You described many of them. Now, child pornography, which is now being returned by an act of Congress, I might add. Senator Blumenthal and Senator Graham, a Democrat and a Republican, introduced this bill to retitle that term to child sex abuse images, because that's what this is. So child pornography, or CSAM as we call it, child sex abuse images, is the actual recording of a sex crime against a child. So there's a vicious cycle of abuse here, if you don't mind me explaining what I mean. When Absolutely. A child is sexually victimized or raped, and believe me, they're as young as infants, like one of your reports showed, and then that crime scene, that abuse, that rape is either videotaped or photographed, that now becomes child sexual abuse material that has been treated under the law for decades as child pornography. It's a very, very serious crime. Why? Because every time that content is viewed, used, consumed, traded, or bartered by a pedophile, a trafficker, or a sexual predator, that child is being re-victimized. This is why this is so serious. And what I believe really caught the attention of the Senate and the media and, everyone that was watching these hearings is that the sentencing guidelines are quite broad, and you at least would hope that any judge would at least prosecute and convict according to those sentencing guidelines. We did not see that happening in the case of this particular judge, and that I'm not sure if that's the case across the board, but what it led me to believe, and I've been fighting this since 1994 in all forms of sexual exploitation against children, is that people do not understand what this crime is really all about and how it is used. Another thing, when a predator views this content, they do it to sexually arouse themselves and to gratify themselves. They also use it to get into pedophile clubs. And what it also does is it fuels the appetite of other predators and pedophiles. So you just get this vicious cycle of abuse. And in the opinion of those who I know, my colleagues and prosecutors who fight these crimes, we need to have a minimum sentencing guideline that is followed. In fact, Senator Josh Hawley has just introduced one. Other senators are looking at expanding upon that or doing their own to have a mandatory minimum, because we cannot just treat these crimes with a slap on the wrist. And you made a very, very important point. We are not just protecting the safety of these children, we are guarding their innocence. And once it is robbed, once it is destroyed, they suffer a lifetime of injury. And if you talk now to survivors of child sex abuse crimes, where that crime has been recorded as child pornography, they are constantly traumatized at the fear that someone will see that photograph or that video of the crime against them, even 10, 15, 20, 30, and 40 years later after the crime was committed.